come out alright, don't you? So this is the Montech Air X. It was a really good case to build in actually. There's so much space. Now, yes, I have used a micro ATX board as well, so there's even more space. But even if you've got a full ATX board, you would have had plenty of space in this case. And it does have those massive 200mm fans at the front, two of them. So those two big fans there, going to bring loads of air through. That's why it's called the Air, obviously, the Air X. And then you've got 120 on the back as well. All three are ARGB as well, so yeah, they're all controlled by a fan hub at the back. Now, obviously, our motherboard doesn't have an ARGB header, so we can't control that through the motherboard. But you can use the little LED button at the top there just to cycle through your colours, so that's no problem there. The case was, like I said, really easy to build in. Really do love the grommets here, really do make things a little bit more... The grommets at the side there, if you can see them, hopefully, yeah. Those side grommets really do make things a lot cleaner. You do notice it with cheaper cases where they have the... where they just have a blank rather than a grommet. I do think the grommet does look more... it just looks more tidier, doesn't it? And it just hides the cables a little bit better. Plus as well... Plus, on the top here, if you're going to be able to see this, yeah. So all the buttons and everything, and all the USB ports and everything are all down the side here. And that's actually, all the wires actually go down the side panel here, go down the back of the side panel. So it's actually really front, it's really clean at the front basically. So if I just move that around, hopefully, don't break the computer. So in the top left hand corner there, basically there's usually like loads of cables there, which kind of like get all a bit sort of messy and what have you. But in here, they're all behind the motherboard tray, and so they're all behind the back panel, all those like USB ports and all that sort of, you know, your front headers and everything, and your power button and everything like that. All those wires are kind of tucked behind the motherboard tray, so that's really nice. I really do like that feature with this case. It's really good. As I said, the fan hub at the back as well, so you can put even more fans. I think in total, I think you could probably even get fans at the bottom here as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And then there's also space for, I think it's two 120mm fans or two 140mm fans. But I'll put the details again at the bottom just in case. But again, if you really want to fill this case up with fans, you can do that as well. Now, yes, I do know that this is a white case with pretty much a black build inside, and I do admit, ideally I wouldn't have liked to use this case, but really this is the only case I've kind of had around, and I just wanted to give a white build a go anyway. I know it hasn't got like all the white features inside, like the white graphics card and the white CPU cooler. That would have been a nice thing to add, but this is a budget build, so I can't really go crazy with those aesthetics. So we are where we are, but I do think the black and the white kind of mix and match kind of quite well, and it does kind of work, I think. The only thing I don't like, obviously, is all this gap at the bottom with the micro ATX motherboard, but again, this is the only case I had around to actually do this build in, which kind of made sense. The other case I potentially have, A, it kind of was a little bit damaged, and B, I just don't think it really sort of fitted the sort of build very well. And I mean, it probably would have worked, but I do think this case really looks premium, and that's why I was kind of going for a more premium look. I do like with the graphics card as well that's routed through here. I didn't actually notice this when I did the build, so I actually put it through the side here of the side PSU shroud, but there is actually a dedicated whole PCIe power cables basically, so that's actually really nice as well. So I saw that after I did the build. The PSU shroud is fully covered as well. There's none of that stupid window thing going on, because we don't like that, so that's great. And even so, we're using a good Corsair CX550 power supply, so it wouldn't really matter, because we are using quite a decent power supply there. So, but still, you just don't want to see the power supply, and you know, this is what I want for any computer manufacturer potentially out there. Just please, just continue on with the full shroud. You know, none of this window rubbish at the bottom here. We don't want that. So yeah, the only thing also as well I was going to say as well is the 200mm fans, although they are very big and they'd let a lot of air in. The problem with this front is when you probably saw it on the B-roll. When I had the lights off, you could see all the lights coming through, and it was nice. But when you got the lights on, the lights don't come through very well on the front here, and the actual mesh is actually very sort of dense or thick. I think that's the word anyway, if that's the correct terminology. And the light doesn't come through very well, and I was a bit disappointed by that, because in theory, if you had this front panel totally off, you'd have those full lights and you'd really be able to see them well, because these are 200mm fans, so there should be plenty of light, but it isn't really letting a lot of light through at the front, which is a bit of a disappointment for me in this case. That's the only thing I don't like with this sort of mesh front panel. I mean, ideally with this sort of showcase sort of PC case, I know it's the air, so obviously this is why it's done like that, because obviously the mesh lets the air through a lot better. But I do think in this case maybe a glass front panel might have actually worked a little bit better, because you would have seen that ARGB goodness, like the light actually kind of really shine through, and it would look even more premium, I think. But again, that's aesthetic taste, I guess. But for me personally, I probably would prefer the mesh. But I think from like a salability sort of thing, I would actually rather that just be glass at the front, and I think that would actually look better to the customer that I'm potentially going to sell this to. But we'll quickly talk about the parts, and then we'll go into the benchmarks. So a Gigabyte A520, which one's this one? This is the KV2. Pretty absolute budget motherboard, you know, but going to do the job, and it's fine. The Ryzen 5 4500, 6 core with 12 threads. That's really good as well. It's a pretty sort of mid-range sort of CPU, but we'll get the job done. And then our GTX 1060 6GB version. So we haven't got the 3, we've got the 6, which is obviously a good selling factor to have that little bit more extra VRAM. That's going to really help out in those games, I think. And the 1060 is just a solid budget graphics card in my opinion. We've looked at it previously on the channel, and we will look at it in the benchmarks soon. So yeah, and obviously 16 gigabytes of RAM, clocked at 3200 megahertz. That's the Kingston HyperX Fury. Pretty decent. A 512 gigabyte SSD, NVMe Gen 2 drive. The one I've got here is a TC Sunbow one, but I'm going to replace that Silicon Power one that I've ordered that hasn't quite come in yet. And yeah, 550 watt power supply, Corsair, 550 watt one, the CX 550. And yeah, I do think it's actually come out quite well, and hopefully you like the build, guys, and yeah, and hopefully you're going to like this video. So please obviously do drop a like as we go along in this video. And I think really I've had enough chatting now, don't you? Yes, you've had more than enough chatting now, Michael. Let's roll those benchmarks. So our first game up is Fortnite, as always. And at 1080p low we are here. I'll just go into the settings just so you can see 1080p full screen. And the quality preset is low, and those are all the different settings that we have. So let's get off the battle bus and get down. So let's start our benchmarking, and we're kind of sitting around about 180 FPS there, although it is fluctuating a lot. And obviously with Fortnite there is a lot of drops, so you have to kind of understand that. But yeah, our graphics card is about 65% usage, so not fully utilising there, but although it is kind of jumping up and down again. Our CPU is basically, you know, less than 10% utilised, so that's fine. Our Ryzen 5 4500 is more than capable of Fortnite, that's for sure. And the 1060 6GB is sitting in quite well there, so like I say, it's kind of, you know, it is going up and down a lot, but it is kind of around about 150 or so. We're getting about 166 average, although there is a lot of drops. There we're down to about 60 drop there. On the 1% low is 60, and then the 0.1% about 13, so a lot of drops obviously, but then this is Fortnite, so you have to expect that, unfortunately. Oh, we're in a fight already, and there we go. First fight, and we got out of it, and we survived, so
No idea where I'm on the map or anything. Again, I don't really play Fortnite, so again, this is just yeah. We're just going to give it a go and see what happens. Basically, that's always what I do in these sort of benchmark things. But yeah, I mean overall, with our 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM clocked to 3200 megahertz, we're sitting around about 9.6 gigabytes there. So you know, you do really you do need 16 gigabytes nowadays for a gaming PC. I think I did a video a couple of videos ago, and I only had 8 gigabytes of RAM, and yeah, we were struggling with that. And I certainly do think, you know, now we're in 2024, you have to have 16 at least. I mean, really, even 32 is probably where we should be, really. But 16 is the kind of sweet spot still. So, you know, where everything's still playable, and I don't think there's any games that really go too much above 16. So we're not too bad there. But we're in another fight here. Again, our 1066 gigabyte is doing really well here. About 157 average there. Our PC is quite silent actually. I'm quite happy with this. It's actually, I mean, but yeah, our big massive fans on the 200mm fans on our PC at the front there, they're really keeping cool, and they only go about 1,000 revs per minute RPM, so they're actually pretty silent. So that's good, and obviously we've got a nice new power supply in there as well, so the fan's nice and silent on that as well. So it's a decent Corsair CX 550, and I do like to try and put a decent power supply in with every build that I do, because there's nothing worse than putting a dodgy power supply in that you're not comfortable with, and then the PC comes back to you in about a month or two time, and you've got headaches. That's the worst thing if your PC flipping, to come back with headaches, having to sort out potentially, you know, damaged components or something like that, or, you know, something down the line's happened. You don't want that. You know, when you sell a PC, you want it to be there for years for that person, and don't hear anything. That's what you want. So I'd rather actually just put a new power supply in and just be, you know, it gives me peace of mind as well as them, I think, as well. So I do think a new power supply for a PC flip is a good idea, although obviously it does cost more. So I mean, there's for and against, but personally I would be on the for side for a new power supply. But it depends. If you can get a good brand named power supply for very cheap, then yes, I probably would go used in that sense. But most decent branded power supplies you're going to have to buy new, or you know, if you're lucky, you might get a good deal, but they don't usually come up too regularly. So, and I certainly wouldn't be comfortable with putting like a crappy like CIT power supply in or something like that. That's not going to work. But yeah, Fortnite very playable on this system. Our temperatures as well are really good. I mean, our 61 degrees on our 1060. That's really good. 38 degrees on our CPU, so obviously that's not even getting remotely warm really at the moment. It's not even been challenged, the CPU. So yeah, I mean, the system's holding up well, and I'm pretty happy that this is stable and good and ready to sell really. So all good there. Let's try and get this enemy. Oh, we got her. Yeah. Oh, there's only 46 players still left out of the 100, so not too bad. Oh, hello, we're in a fight again. Bit of a stutter there, I don't know if you just noticed that. We're obviously playing at quite an easy level here, because I haven't really played Fortnite, so we're probably in one of the very sort of easiest games you could probably get in. So that's probably why we're looking a little bit better than what we actually are. If I was in a tougher game, we would certainly be struggling a bit. Again, I have no idea how really I play this game of Fortnite, so I'm just kind of free rolling it now. Oh, hello. Okay, we're in a fight again. Where have they gone? Oh, somehow we've won that one. Oh, that's crazy. We should not have won that, but anyway. So we are getting the odd drop here and there. Like I say, 11 FPS is our 1% low, and 42 FPS is our 1% low. So Yeah, we are getting a few drops, but again, this is Fortnite, so this is a little bit expected, to be honest. So I wouldn't be too alarmed about that. Overall, we are getting about 140 FPS average here. So if you were running this on a 144 Hz monitor, this is 1080p low. This would actually be a quite decent experience. Oh, maybe don't get out of the car then. There we go. We got to 24th, which is pretty good, so that's not bad. Let's get on to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, 1080p here, and low graphics, so 1080p low presets, and those are all the settings there. And we're going to run the canned benchmark. So 1080p low, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, sitting about 90 FPS there, a little bit lower, maybe 85. Pretty decent, 99% usage, 100% usage now, and our 1060 6 gigabyte, 63 degrees centigrade, so that card's working very well. It's a blower cooler, that one as well. It's not the traditional sort of 2-fan type one. It's a blower cooler, so that can run a little bit hotter as well. So it's good to see that this card's actually running quite low in terms of temperatures. But I think that's mainly to do with those big 200mm fans at the front, which is really giving so much cool air to our PC that our components really are running at very, very low temperatures, which is great to see. So here we are, just a little bit further on now in the benchmark, and our Ryzen 5 4500, again sitting only about 40 degrees centigrade and really only doing about 5% utilization. So this is a very easy to run game, really. Most PCs, really kind of any decent AM4 PC is easily going to handle this. I mean, really any sort of decent i7 from, I'd say, about 6th gen and upwards is going to be able to run this as well, and potentially even like the 5th gen, maybe like a it's even like a 8th gen i5 is probably going to run this very well as well, because that's got 6 cores rather than the 4. So here we are with the final results. Our minimum was 69 FPS, our maximum was 156, and our average was 93 FPS. So again, 1080p low here, very playable, but we kind of sort of knew this already with this PC, but it just confirms it that, you know, the 1060 is still a decent graphics card and can still handle those sort of older games. So let's go on to Cyberpunk now and see if that's a bigger test for it. So Cyberpunk up next. Our video is 1080p full screen and our graphics are set to low. We're going to use the AMD the AMD FX Super Resolution. Now there is an updated one here, but I haven't got the updated patch for this game yet, so we'll just have to go with this one. This is a little bit older. This isn't the latest patch, but it's okay. I haven't got time to download the patch, so we'll have to do that for another day. But those are all the settings there, and let's run the benchmark. So here we go, about 55 FPS there. Yeah, it's kind of dropping a little bit, going down to 50 here and there. Our utilization is 99% on our GPU, so that's great. And our CPU is sitting there about 5%, so that's all good as well. The Ryzen 5 4500, you know, it is a decent mid-range CPU. It's very near the Ryzen 5 3600 in terms of performance anyway, and it is still a decent CPU, and could handle a lot more of a higher end graphics card. But obviously at the moment I don't really have the money to be able to afford the higher end graphics cards, and in general I don't find my PCs sell very well with higher end graphics cards either, or even the mid-range sort of graphics cards. So where my market is now, I'm just focusing on the low end and low end only. And also money wise, it's better to focus on the low end anyway. So anyway, so let's just move that out of the way. So 63 FPS average is pretty decent in Cyberpunk. Minimum of 50 and a maximum of 78. So that's pretty much playable in my book. Could maybe potentially go down in resolution if you just wanted a little bit more FPS, but I think that's going to be more than enough for most people. There are a few drops below 60, but again, really, you know, it's perfectly playable. So yeah, I think that's a pass. And then now we're going to really test our system with Starfield. So last up is Starfield, and as you'd guess, the 1066GB is struggling with Starfield, but we kind of knew that was going to happen. So let's just start the benchmarking now. So we're sitting about 37 FPS here. We are going to get too many drops, because this one good thing about this game is it doesn't drop too badly. It just doesn't run very well. It just doesn't run very well in the first place, but at least it doesn't have massive drops, so that's something. But even so, we're having a few drops here. We could going down to the 30 FPS. I mean, technically this is playable, 1080p low. I'll just prove that we're 1080p low here, actually, to make sure. Actually at 1080p medium, so that was wrong. And FSR 3 is on, so let's try now that we've put it to low. Okay, so we have gained a little bit there, so we're about 45 FPS now, so that's something. But again, we are getting quite big drops here. In fact, actually, I'll restart the benchmarking from our scratch, because we changed the settings there. So let's go now. There we go. So we're at 39 as our, well, 37 is our lowest now, and we're sitting around about 40. Well, we're getting into the 50s now, but it's about 45, 50. But as you can see, you can probably see on the camera, the graphics are appallingly bad now at 1080p low. I mean, this is basically a PS1 game now. Well, a PS2 game at least anyway. I mean, the graphics do look appalling now. We still got very, very good usage on our graphics card, 99%. Our RAM's taking up 13 gigabytes, so as you can tell, this game is a little bit buggy in terms of how the memory usage is kind of done, or how it's allocated and what have you, but that is what it is. And obviously our CPU is basically doing nothing in the background, so that's not too bad. Sort of sitting around about 6% or so. But yeah, we've had one drop to 26 FPS as our 0.1% low, but our 1% low is at 35, so that is playable. You could play this potentially, but again, I think the graphics are so bad that you'd want to move it to at least medium, but then medium you're struggling to even get 30 FPS. So again, really, the 1060 here, this is not the graphics card for Starfield, and you know, for the sort of customers that I sell my PCs to, this isn't even on their radar to be playing. You know, this is like this is like a next gen game where really the people I'm selling to, it's all about Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox and those easier to run titles really. So this really isn't a problem here. I mean, the main thing was that Fortnite plays well, and that's really what people want nowadays. I think Fortnite's the primary game still that people want to play on the PC, and the main reason why people still get gaming PCs because of Fortnite. And really what you're trying to do when you're flipping PCs is you are trying to get under that PS5 sort of £350 mark. Now I am probably going to have to sell this for at least £350, this PC. So yeah, I haven't really quite gone under that mark. I'd like this PC to be about £300. I mean, it's cost me about £250, so I could actually sell it for about £300. But again, the markup and the margin basically is nothing. I'm not really that happy with making 50 quid on a PC. I kind of want to make at least £100 per PC. That's kind of the aim. So if I'm building a PC for 150, I want to sell it for 250. You know, if I'm building it for 200, I want to sell it for 300 and what have you. So really, I want to be selling this for 350, but I'm kind of a little bit unsure whether I'll get. I mean, I'll ask 350, but I'm kind of feeling it's probably like 325 or maybe even 300. But really, if I'm being honest, I probably have spent too much on this PC. Really, I brought maybe one or two newer parts which I shouldn't have. And looking at it now, I have made a few mistakes here and there, but obviously I will correct them over time. And I think generally, from what I can tell, it seems to be, at least where the market is at the moment in terms of reselling PCs, it seems to be lower end is where it's at, and I actually think maybe even sacrificing like aesthetics and looks might be worthwhile now, and maybe going down the office PC way. Just get an old office PC for say 70, 80 quid, slapping a 70 or 80 quid graphics card in it and then just putting it up for like 275 or 250 and just seeing what you can get. I think that actually might be a play now in the market, because people just, I know obviously the RGB fans and and the whole nice tempered glass and all that do sell the PC as well, and that does help. But I do think there is a market right now for just very cheap PCs that are just going to get the job done for people. And I think that's probably where I'm going to start looking a little bit more in terms of actually targeting that market and targeting that very budget, just wanting something to get up and play, and to it's mainly for kids really, because I think parents want to buy the absolute cheapest PC they possibly can for their kid. So I might look at those office PCs a little bit more now, I think, because obviously once you go custom components, you're probably talking at least £200 to £250 cost with custom components. So going down the office PC, you can kind of save a lot of money in that sense. So I think that's probably something I'm going to be looking at. But anyway, I think that's kind of rambling on a little bit, the video. But overall, this is a nice PC, and I do think it will sell. And we might not quite get the money we want for it, but it's going to be fine. And I do think it's a really nice PC, and I'm happy with it. And overall, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Please drop us a like if you did. Please comment on what you think of this little PC, and do you think I've made a few mistakes and what have you, or would you say it's a fairly good value PC? I mean, I think it is still a good value, especially if you're building this for yourself for 250 quid. I mean, that's great value. But obviously, when you're having to resell it and make a profit, that's when it becomes a little bit more of an issue. But anyway, please subscribe to see my future videos, and as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.